The Siege of Candia was a military conflict in which Ottoman forces besieged the Venetian-ruled city, lasting from 1648 to 1669, or a total of 21 years. It was the longest siege in history. However, the Ottomans were ultimately victorious despite Candia's unprecedented resistance. Background: in the 17th century, Venice's power in the Mediterranean was waning. As Ottoman power grew, the Venetian Republic believed that the Ottomans would use any excuse to pursue further hostilities. In 1644, the Knights of Malta attacked an Ottoman convoy on its way from Alexandria to Constantinople. They landed at Candia with the loot, which included part of the Sultan's harem, returning from a pilgrimage to Mecca. In response, 60,000 Ottoman troops led by Yusuf Pasha disembarked on Venetian Crete and occupied Larcanea and Retimo. Both of these cities took 2 months each to conquer. Between 1645 and 1648, the Ottomans occupied the rest of the island and prepared to take the capital, Candia. Siege: the Siege of Candia began in May 1648. The Ottomans spent 3 months laying siege to the city, cutting off the water supply, and disrupting Venice's sea lanes to the city. For the next 16 years, they would bombard the city to little effect. The Venetians, in turn, sought to blockade the Ottoman-held Dardanelles to prevent the resupply of the Ottoman expeditionary force on Crete. This effort led to a series of naval actions. On the 21st of June 1655 and the 26th of August 1656, the Venetians were victorious, although the Venetian commander, Lorenzo Marcello, was killed in the latter engagement. However, on 17 to 19 July 1657, the Ottoman navy soundly defeated the Venetians and the Venetian captain, Lazzaro Mocenigo, was killed by a falling mast. Venice received more aid from other Western European states after the 7th of November 1659 Treaty of the Pyrenees and the consequent peace between France and Spain. However, the Peace of Asvar released additional Ottoman forces for action against the Venetians in Candia. In 1666, a Venetian attempt to recapture Larcanea failed. The following year, Colonel Andrea Barozzi, a Venetian military engineer, defected to the Ottomans and gave them information on weak spots in Candia's fortifications. On the 24th of July 1669, a French land-sea expedition under Mocenigo not only failed to lift the siege, but also lost the fleet's vice flagship, La Thérèse, a 900-ton French warship armed with 58 cannons, to an accidental explosion. This dual disaster was devastating to the morale of the city's defenders. Apparently chastened by their failed relief effort and the loss of so valuable a warship, the French abandoned Candia in August 1669, leaving Captain General Francesco Morosini, the commander of Venetian forces, with only 3,600 fit men and scant supplies to defend the fortress. He, therefore, accepted terms and surrendered to Ahmed Koprulu, the Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire on 27 September 1669. However, his surrender without first receiving authorization to do so from the Venetian Senate made Morosini a controversial figure in Venice for some years. Afterward, as a part of the surrender terms, all Christians were allowed to leave Candia with whatever they could carry, while Venice retained possession of Grambusa, Suda and Spinalonga, fortified islands that shielded natural harbors where Venetian ships could stop during their voyages to the eastern Mediterranean. After Candia's fall, the Venetians somewhat offset their defeat by expanding their holdings in Dalmatia. It is said that when news of Candia's fall reached Pope Clement IX in October, he immediately fell ill and 2 months later died. Other participants: Knights of Malta fought at the Siege of Candia in 1668, in fact by raiding an Ottoman convoy en route from Alexandria to Constantinople in 1644 and capturing part of the Sultan's harem. They could be said to have precipitated the crisis. François de Beaufort, who died there, Philippe de Montauban, NAC, Marshal under the Duke of Beaufort. Philippe de Vendôme, the nephew of the Duke of Beaufort. Vincenzo Rospigliosi, Admiral of the Fleet and Pope Clement's nephew. Charles de Sévigné. In fiction, the Siege of Candia is an important part of the background to the historical novel, an instance of the finger post, where a major protagonist is a Venetian veteran of that siege, and several plot developments become clear through extensive flashbacks to the Candia events.